Reading through the Bible in 1 year. June 19th, Deuteronomy 24, Psalms 114 through 115, Isaiah 51, and Revelation chapter 21. If a man takes a wife and marries her, and it happens that she finds no favor in his eyes, because he has found some indecency in her, and he writes her a certificate of divorce and puts it in her hand and sends her out from his house, and she goes out from his house and goes and becomes another man's wife, and the latter husband turns against her and writes her a certificate of divorce and puts it in her hands and puts it in her hand and sends her out of his house. Or if the latter husband dies, who took her to be his wife, then her former husband who sent her away is not allowed to take her again to be his wife, since she has been defiled. For that is an abomination before Yahweh. You shall not bring sin on the land which Yahweh your God gives you as an inheritance. When a man takes a new wife, he shall not go out with the army, nor be charged with any duty. He shall be free at home for 1 year, and have gladness to his wife whom he has taken. No one shall take a handmill or an upper millstone in pledge, for he will be taking a life in pledge. If a man is caught kidnapping any of his brothers or the sons of Israel, and he mistreats him or sells him, then that thief shall die. So you shall purge the evil from among you. Take care against an infection of leprosy, to be very careful and to do according to all that the Levitical priests instruct you to do. As I have commanded them, so you shall be careful to do. Remember what Yahweh your God did to Miriam on the way as you came out of Egypt. When you make your neighbor a loan of any sort, you shall not enter his house to take his deposit. You shall stand outside, and the man to whom you make the loan shall bring the deposit out to you. Now, if he is an afflicted man, you shall not sleep with his deposit. When the sun goes down, you shall surely return the deposit to him, that he may sleep in his cloak and bless you, and it will be righteousness for you before Yahweh your God. You shall not oppress a hired person who is afflicted and needy, whether he is one of your brothers or one of the sojourners who is in your land within your gates. You shall give him his wages on his day before the sun goes down, for he is afflicted and sets his soul on it, so that he will not cry out against you to Yahweh and it becomes sin in you. Fathers shall not be put to death for their sons, nor shall sons be put to death for their fathers. Each shall be put to death for his own sin. You shall not pervert the justice due a sojourner or an orphan, nor take a widow's garment in pledge. But you shall remember that you were a slave in Egypt, and that Yahweh your God redeemed you from there. Therefore, I am commanding you to do this thing. When you reap your harvest in your field, and have forgotten a sheaf in the field, you shall not go back to get it. It shall be for the sojourner, for the orphan, and for the widow, in order that Yahweh your God may bless you in all the work of your hands. When you beat your olive tree, you shall not go over the boughs after you finish it. It shall be for the sojourner, for the orphan, and for the widow. Whenever you gather grapes, verse 21. When you gather the grapes of your vineyard, you shall not glean it after you finish. It shall be for the sojourner, for the orphan, and for the widow. And you shall remember that you were a slave in the land of Egypt. Therefore, I am commanding you to do this thing. Now Psalm 114 and Psalm 115. When Israel went out from Egypt, the house of Jacob from a people of strange language, Judah became his sanctuary, Israel his dominion. The sea looked and fled, the Jordan turned back, the mountains skipped like rams, the hills like lambs. What disturbs you, O sea, that you flee? O Jordan, that you turn back? O mountains, that you skip like rams? O hills like lambs? Tremble, O earth, before the Lord, before the God of Jacob, who turned the rock into a pool of water, the flint into a spring of water. Psalm 115. Not to us, O Yahweh, not to us, but to your name give glory, because of your loving kindness, because of your truth. Why should the nations say, where now is their God? But our God is in the heavens. He does whatever he pleases. Their idols are silver and gold, the work of man's hands. They have mouths, but they do not speak. They have eyes, but they do not see. They have ears, but they do not hear. They have noses, but they do not smell. As for their hands, do not feel. As for their feet, they do not walk. They do not make a sound with their throat. Those who make them will become like them, everyone who trusts in them. O Israel, trust in Yahweh. He is their help and their shield. O house of Aaron, trust in Yahweh. He is their help and their shield. For you who fear Yahweh, trust in Yahweh. He is their help and their shield. Yahweh remembered us. He will bless. He will bless the house of Israel. He will bless the house of Aaron. He will bless those who fear Yahweh, the small together with the great. May Yahweh give you increase, you and your children. May you be blessed of Yahweh, who made heaven and earth. The heavens are the heavens of Yahweh, but the earth he has given to the sons of men. It is not the dead that praise Yah, and it is none of those who go down to silence. But as for us, we will bless Yah. From now until forever, praise Yah. Now Isaiah 51. Listen to me, you who pursue righteousness, who seek Yahweh. Look to the rock from which you are hewn, and to the quarry from which you were dug. Look to Abraham your father, and to Sarah, who brought you forth through labor pains. When he was but one, I called him. Not 1 year old, meaning when he was but one person, God called him. Then I blessed him and multiplied him. Indeed, Yahweh will comfort Zion. He will comfort all her waste places. In her wilderness he will make like Eden, in her desert like the garden of Yahweh. Joy and gladness will be found in her, thanksgiving in the sound of melody. Pay attention to me, O people, and give ear to me, O my nation, for a law will go forth from me, and I will set my justice for a light of the peoples. My righteousness is near, my salvation has gone forth. My arms will judge the peoples. The coastlands will hope in me, and for my arm they will wait expectantly. Lift up your eyes to the sky, then look to the earth beneath. For the sky will vanish like smoke, and the earth will wear out like a garment, and its inhabitants will die in like manner. But my salvation will be forever, and my righteousness will not be dismayed. Listen to me, you who know righteousness, a people in whose heart is my law. Do not fear the reproach of man, nor be dismayed at their revilings. For the moth will eat them like a garment, and the grub will eat them like wool. But my righteousness will be forever, and my salvation to all generations. Awake, awake, put on strength, O arm of Yahweh. Awake as in the days of old, the generations of long ago. Was it not you who chopped Rahab in pieces, who pierced the dragon? Was it not you who dried up the sea, the waters of the great deep, who made the depths of the sea a pathway for the redeemed to cross over? So the ransomed of Yahweh will return and come with joyful shouting to Zion, and everlasting gladness will be on their heads. They will obtain joy and gladness, and sorrow and sighing will flee away. I, even I, am he who comforts you. Who are you that you are afraid of man who dies, and the Son of Man who is made like grass, that you have forgotten Yahweh, your Maker, who stretched out the heavens and laid the foundations of the earth, that you tremble in dread continually all day long because of the wrath of the one who brings distress, as he makes ready to bring ruin? But where is the wrath of the one who brings distress? The one in chains will soon be set free, and will not die in the pit, nor will his bread be lacking. For I am Yahweh your God, who stirs up the sea, and its waves roar. Yahweh of hosts is his name. I have put my words in your mouth, and have covered you with the shadow of my hand, to establish the heavens, to found the earth, and to say to Zion, you are my people. Awaken yourself. Awaken yourself. Arise, O Jerusalem. You who have drunk from the hand of Yahweh the cup of his wrath. The chalice of reeling you have drained to the dregs. There is none to guide her among all the sons she has borne. She has reared. These two things have befallen you. Who will console you? The devastation and destruction, famine and sword. How shall I comfort you? Your sons have fainted. They lie helpless at the head of every street, like an antelope in a net, full of the wrath of Yahweh, the rebuke of your God. Therefore, now listen to this, you afflicted, you who are drunk, but not with wine. Thus says your Lord, Yahweh, even your God, who contends for his people. Behold, I have taken out of your hand the cup of reeling, the chalice of my wrath. You will never drink it again. I will set it into the hand of those who cause you grief, who have said to you, lie down that we may walk over you. You have even set your back down like the ground, and like the street for those who walk over it. Now, Revelation 21. Once again, this is it's an apocalyptic book. It's a prophetic book, and it has a lot of things that are hard to follow and hard to understand. If you have questions, concerns about any of these things, pause and read the notes. That's why they're there. I'm going to scroll through and make sure all of them clear my giant head so they're out of the way. No worries. Let's begin. Verse 1. Then I saw a new heaven and a new earth. For the first heaven and the first earth had passed away. There is no longer any sea. And I saw the holy city, the new Jerusalem, coming down out of heaven, out of heaven from God, made ready as a bride adorned for her husband. And I heard a loud voice from the throne saying, behold, the tabernacle, the tent, the dwelling place of God is among men, and he will dwell among them, and they shall be his people, and God himself will be among them. And he will wipe away every tear from their eyes, and there will no longer be any death. There will no longer be any mourning, or crying, or pain. The first things passed away. And he who sits on the throne said, behold, I am making all things new. And he said, write, for these words are faithful and true. Then he said to me, they are done. I am the Alpha and the Omega, the beginning and the end. I will give to the one who thirsts from the spring of the water of life without cost. And he who overcomes will inherit these things, and I will be his God, and he will be my son. But for the cowardly, unbelieving and abominable and murderers and sexually immoral persons and sorcerers and idolaters and all liars. Their part will be in the lake that burns with fire and brimstone, which is the second death. Then one of the 7 angels who have the 7 bowls full of the 7 last plagues came and spoke with me, saying, "Come here, and I will show you the bride, the wife of the Lamb." And he carried me away in the Spirit to a great and high mountain, and showed me the holy city, Jerusalem, coming down out of heaven from God, having the glory of God. Her brilliance was like a precious stone, as a stone, I'm going to have to reread that. I'll just start back at verse 10. And he carried me away in the Spirit to a great and high mountain, and showed me the holy city Jerusalem, coming down out of heaven from God, having the glory of God. Her brilliance was like a precious stone, as a stone of clear crystal jasper. It had a great and high wall, and had 12 gates, and at those gates 12 angels. And names have been written on those gates, which are the names of the 12 tribes of the sons of Israel. There were 3 gates on the east, and 3 gates on the north, and 3 gates on the south, and 3 gates on the west. And the wall of the city had 12 foundation stones, and on them were the 12 names of the 12 apostles of the Lamb. And the one who spoke with me had a gold measuring rod to measure the city and its gates and its wall. And the city was laid out as a square, and its length is as great as its width. And he measured the city with the rod, 12,000 stadia, about 1,380 miles. That's how long the wall is one direction, and then it turns and goes the other direction. Again, it's a square, 1,380 miles wide. Its length and width and height are equal. It's also 1,380 miles tall. It's a big place. And he measured its wall 144 cubits according to human measurements, which are also angelic measurements. And the material of the wall was jasper, and the city was pure gold, like pure glass. And the foundation stones of the city wall were adorned with every kind of precious stone. The first foundation stone was jasper, the second sapphire, the third chalcedony, the fourth emerald, the fifth sardonyx, the sixth sardius, the seventh chrysolite, the eighth beryl, the ninth topaz, the 10th chrysoprase, the 11th jacinth, and the 12th amethyst. And the 12 gates were 12 pearls. This is where we get the term pearly gates from. Each one of the gates was a single pearl, and the streets of the city was pure gold, like transparent glass. And I saw no sanctuary in it, for the Lord God the Almighty and the Lamb are its sanctuary. And the city had no need of the sun or the moon to shine on it, for the glory of God has illuminated it, and its lamp is the Lamb. And the nations will walk by its light, and the kings of the earth will bring their glory into it. And its gates will never be closed by day, for there will be no night there. And they will bring the glory and the honor of the nations into it. And nothing defiled. No one who practices abomination and lying shall ever come into it, but only those whose names are written in the Lamb's book of life. And that is all of the text and all of the notes for today. So, God willing, we'll be back tomorrow. Behold, the word of the Lord.